love it. I love my beginning. I move from the sofa to here as the lights come up. I love doing that. Okay, so dear speakers, fantastic that you are all here and that you all got your planes, because one speaker today actually missed hers. So I'm delighted you're here. It's the tough slot at the end of the day. Dear audience, all of you here in the room and all of you who are joining us online, thank you so much if you've just joined us or if you've been with us all day. Let me just turn to those in the room. Who was here in previous sessions? Okay, so, wow, the stalwarts. I am impressed. Thank you very much. So, for those of you who know, my name is Katrina Sickle. For those of you who don't, my name is Katrina Sickle. And this is the last session of the 4 that I'm moderating today. And this one is on small and mid-size urban centres driving growth. We've had so many topics on the table, and the Commission has really tried to capture those areas that are very, very specific to thriving regions, stronger Europe. Don't forget, as I said, for those who weren't in the room before, there is a citizens' dialogue at 7 o'clock tonight, just a 1-hour session with Commissioner Ferreira and 7 young people. And after that, you can sample some regional beverages. Okay, so might be worth sticking around for some good conversation and then for some good drinks. Just a reminder, languages, just in case you should need that, and a request to check your phones are on silent, including my good speakers. All right, is everybody on Slido? Because then we don't have to spend too long. Are you all on Slido? Put your hand up if you're not. If you're not, oh yes, well then look, we have enough people in the room who need to make sure they are. If you don't like the QR code, just go to slido.com and put in the gigantic hashtag that's on the stage. You can't miss it. Important, because I'll ask you to take part in one audience poll, also for those of you online, and to pose a few questions. The golden rule is, as before, keep them short and sweet. I might try and take one for the room, if anybody wants to actually ask one live, but the deal is a question has a question mark at the end. So you will need to get to the point. Thank you. So the starting point of this topic, and then I'm going to invite our lovely speakers to the stage, is, I mean, I hope you know this, I think you know this, that small and mid-sized urban centres are absolutely an important, very, very important source of economic dynamism and thus contribute to economic growth. So we're going to hone in on those particular centres. We're going to look at their particular challenges, and we're going to see what are those, how are they overcoming them, how are they trying to overcome them, and kind of deliver prosperity in the broadest sense. And I don't just mean financial. We'll have a look at some place-based, very bottom-up approaches, because we love those that come from around the EU, right from the ground. And we're going to look, as we have done in previous sessions, what constitutes an effective mix of policy approaches within a broader framework of a sustainable urban development strategy. Now I get to introduce my lovely speakers to the stage, so can you please give a very, very warm welcome. First of all, let me ask to join me Emil Bock, who is Mayor of Cluj-Napoca, so very, very warm welcome to you. You get to sit next to me, or maybe I get to sit next to you. I don't know who's happier about that, but that's your seat. Also from the OECD, David Bergalassi. He is an expert on urban systems and small and mid-sized cities. Welcome. There you are, and you are also an expert on the linkages between the urban and the regional development. We have the Director of European Programs in the region of Murcia, Mercedes Hernandez Martinez. Very warm welcome to you. We're going to look at Fundau's innovation strategy. We have Ricardo Gonzalez, who is a manager, who is a manager at Invest and Startup Fundau. So really right in the heart of things, delivering a very interesting strategy. And finally, we have Mia Pananen, who is a senior EU policy advisor representing the city of Turku in Finland. And she's come to talk about something very, very specific and delightful. So a warm welcome to her. You may take a seat. Oh my God, I have to say, these are the politest of all the speakers in the day, because they stayed standing up for the rest of them. Oh, and I didn't even boss them around to do that. So, Before I come to you for a nice opening statement, I'm just going to run an audience poll, then you can have a little bit of a flavour of perhaps what our audience is thinking about the subject. They're not rocket science, okay? This is very light data gathering, but if we can see the poll, or if you can access the poll, also those of you online in your phones or on your laptops, that would be lovely. We're looking at how small and mid-sized urban centres could become more resilient. What you think of all of these is the most important ingredient within that. So to become more resilient, what resonates most for you? Is it really being strategic about the specific main challenges and BAMs creating a strategy to meet them? Is it absolutely not forgetting to get the participation of civil society to shape all of those policies? Do they just need to tap into all available funding opportunities? And we heard that's not always easy in the EU. It can be very complex. Is it because sometimes they struggle to have a regular place at the bigger table, at the regional, at the national decision-making table, and there needs to be kind of a better dynamic there? Or is it making sure that there's internet access? Is that what it's all about? But there you go, that's a whopping 76%. Let's just be really strategic, identify challenges and create a robust strategy. Who can say already here that they've identified challenges and created a robust strategy? I think you're coming with some of those examples. You're coming? I think Marcia has probably got some good examples of those. Well, hold that thought. We can lose the poll now, and I'm going to come and invite the former PM of Romania, but the mayor of Cluj-Napoca, who is Emil Boc, and that's the second largest city in Romania, correct? Yeah, so quite a thing in terms of size and also economic development. And interesting also, particularly in the context of the discussions we've had, is that you were a former Committee of the Regions rapporteur on brain drain in the EU, so I could have had you on the previous panel as well. I'm not going to rain on your parade. I have a lot of facts on this particular municipality and its strengths, and I'm going to leave all of that to you and give you the floor. Thank you for framing a little bit our session.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It is a wonderful week in Brussels to be part of the European Week of Regions and Cities. And what is most impressive to me is that even we are from 27 countries of the European Union, we have that feeling of home abroad. I think it's a unique place in Europe to have this kind of feeling. Doesn't matter we speak 24 official languages of the European Union, we speak the same language of values of our Europe. And congratulations for organizing this event and bringing together to share our expertise, our knowledge, and to learn from each other. I try briefly, maybe you can cut the sound just to see the pictures.
There you go.
Yes, because otherwise I will sing also
you
dance. So I don't know how to dance in this afternoon, if it would be appropriate. So there are some images from my city, how we succeed with cohesion policy, with other synergy of funds to respond to the present challenges in Europe and in the world. But before that, I would like to share you some thoughts about why small and mid-sized cities are important. First of all, there is a universal trend. People are moving to cities. Small, mid-sized, or bigger cities, it's a trend. Always, or already in the European Union, more than 75% of the people are living in cities, and the number is increasing. So yes, cities are good places for quality of life, but also the problems are there. We have economical growth, but also we have congestion, we have poverty, we have to deal with crime, with drugs, and all kinds of stuff. So what I'm telling from our European Committee of the Regions, we need to pay more attention to our cities in terms of investment, because everything is local in the end. Education is local, congestion is local, poverty is local. In the end, the main problems are at the local level, so we need direct funds to the local level. The second aspect I want to share with you, there are many challenges in this world. I would emphasize just two of them. Economical disparities are growing in Europe. Yes, cohesion policy produced a lot of results in Europe, And you can see from Romania, Bulgaria to Poland and other countries of the European Union how cohesion policy is working on the ground. But still, the disparities are high in Europe. In some areas, the disparities are even growing. Let's talk about digital divide. Let's talk economical disparities. What kind of Europe are we going to have after 2024? Because we are going to have the European election. My answer is we definitely need a cohesion policy for all regions of the European Union. We need to be sure that a minimum standard of quality of life can be ensured and find out in every corner of the European Union. And here there are two answers: cohesion policy and the transformative power of education. Cohesion policy is that glue which is keeping our Europe together. It's the solution for economical growth, being the long-term investment of the European Union, but in the same time, it's the other side of the coin of the single market. As long as we have single market in the European Union, we need cohesion policy. As long as we need peace, development, we need to have growth, and to have prosperity, we need growth with a single market and cohesion policy. And at the local level, education is the base. Someone said that with one pen, one book, one children, and one teacher, you can change the world. That was a former Nobel Prize winner. I do believe that, and it's available for our cities, take in consideration the power of cohesion and the transformative power of education, we can achieve the best quality of life in our cities. And I'm responding to your challenge. Brain drain, yes, in some part of Europe, the brain drain is damaging our societies. What is the response? Cohesion policy and education. Let's offer the best quality of life for our people through education, and we have our people back home or keep our people home. So I'm emphasizing how important it is to invest in education on long-term perspective, because it's the only way to get out of poverty through education. It's the only way to fight against populism, extremism, drugs, violence, extremism, and so on. Invest in education, and the education should be a key political priority for our union together with the cohesion policy in order to have a strong Europe. And now I'm going to close my intervention mentioning some aspects about my city, which I'm representing here, Cluj-Napoca, in the very heart of Transylvania, Romania. I think the most important aspect is to have a vision, a strategy, and a plan. Our vision was, what is our main competitive advantage as a city? And I'll invite you to think about your city. What is your main competitive advantage? It's impossible not to have one. So our city do have a competitive advantage of being a university city with 10 public universities and public and private universities with more than 100,000 students. So we moved from industrial economy during the communist time to knowledge-based economy. This is the key, taking consideration the competitive advantage of knowledge economy, because the education and the knowledge are the only resource on earth without limits. So emphasize the strategy based on knowledge-based economy, and after that, we spoke the same language as in Europe. Green Deal, public transport, because public transport must be green by 2028 in order to diminish the greenhouse emission. Also, we are part of the network of 100 climate-neutral cities in Europe, because Green Deal is not a choice anymore, it's a necessity, and we know that every day in our cities. So we try to construct a vision and a plan based on our competitive advantage, and to use a keyword, synergy of funds. We brought funds from the cohesion policy, we brought funds for Horizon, we brought funds from other sources from the European Union, local, regional, and national level. And here we're asking Europe for more flexibility in terms of synergy of funds between cohesion policy and recovery resilient facility in order to implement our projects on the ground. As long as we work in this manner, I think we can do our cities the best place for our citizens to find the best quality of life at a local level.
Thank you, and thank you. Well, no, I think it's always good to start with much boldness, much passion, and much clarity, and I think you've delivered on those fronts. You're not the first today to talk about the necessity for flexibility in the Synergy of Funds. So I think that has been a message that the Commission has definitely heard today. Just picking up, and before I come to you, David, to give you the floor, yeah, one of the most, amongst everything you said, important things for me is post-2024. Because if we don't get that fair standard of living, that polarization will increase, and all of that anger and all of those inequalities will lead to further polarization, and God knows it doesn't help to be in a space where we can't have conversations that are nuanced and grey, that are not black and white. And I like that, absolutely. Start there. With your vision, what's your competitive advantage, and how do you build upon that to make sure that your small or mid-sized urban centre is robust and resilient? So, David, you're coming from, you're an economist working within the city's Urban Policies and Sustainable Development Division at the OECD Centre for Entrepreneurships, SMEs, Regions and Cities. So this really is very much your bread and butter. Interesting, you've looked at the demographic trends in OECD cities and the urban-rural linkages and innovation diffusion, all sorts of others. So tell us, I mean, what did you hear? How would you like to build on that? What is kind of some other framing points for our conversation that you could put on the table for us?
Thank you very much, Catherine. Thanks, everybody.
And don't speak, sorry, those delightful people up there are so tired. Don't speak too fast, because...
I will try to.
Thank you.
Let me say that it's a real pleasure to be here in Brussels after the past editions online. So it's really beautiful to stay here. And thanks to Emil Bosch that actually touched upon some key issues and key problems that small and medium-sized cities are facing. So I'm just speaking from what Emil Bosch said. So he talked about trends and problems, and they mentioned a key point that is disparities, inequalities. And actually, at the OECD, we just released last week our flagship report on the regional outlook, and the title of the regional article, the core, was the long-standing geography of territorial disparities across OECD regions. And those disparities are really strong if you consider different regions and different types of regions. So I will give a lot of numbers, but just to give a couple of numbers, the GDP per capita in large metropolitan areas is 30% higher than the GDP per capita outside the larger metropolitan areas, so in small and medium-sized cities. And today, in the morning, I had the chance to attend a very interesting session. There was the JRC producing incredibly amazing maps and visuals and data. I just learned, being here the EU week, that the broadband speed, so we are talking about digital infrastructure, in small urban areas, if I counted well, is 20% lower than the digital speed, the broadband speed in large metropolitan areas. And I can continue, but I will stop. What I say, and we noticed at the OECD, that what is changing is that the geography of disparity does not involve just the GDP, just the productivity. It's a multidimensional concept. It involves multiple dimensions, especially in those dimensions related to the well-being of the people, to the quality of life. So, for instance, the access to the healthcare, the skills and education, the reading scores in cities, on average, are higher than outside large cities. Mm-hmm. The digital connectivity, I already told. So, say this, there is a role for small and mid-sized cities to try to solve, to alleviate the disparities. I argue there is. I think, based on our research, the small and mid-sized cities are really the backbone of the polycentric structure. It's not just a word in the air, polycentric structure. out of 10 cities, 8 are small and medium sized. Just 2 are large cities. So the relevance goes beyond the share of population. The relevance involves the management of the land, of the rural areas, involves giving opportunities to not just to the residents in those small and medium-sized urban centers, but also outside, urban-rural linkages, etc. There is a role, despite some trends that across the OECD, the population in the last 10 years declined in about 4 out of 10 cities. While for large cities, don't have the exact number, but should be like 15%. So there is a strong gap. It's a problem. Yes, we know it's a problem. But what is the problem in the problem? Maybe it's about prioritization, I think, for small and medium-sized sector. If you are a mayor or a manager in a small and medium-sized city, but maybe you can confirm or not, maybe your first problem is to provide jobs for your residents now, and maybe not to think about the green jobs that we'll have in 20 years. Mm-hmm. But the issue is that today we should think about green jobs, tech jobs, etc. Despite this prioritization. Mm-hmm. It's a problem, yes. It's also an opportunity. I think that despite some trends, maybe they're hard to reverse, like the population, but they can provide a chance for cities to deal and to turn them into opportunities. You lose population, you can have brownfield development. You can think to have less population, but to provide more quality service. So service is not just a quantitative aspect, but it's qualitative aspects. Okay. And with those you can reverse. This, of course, reverse, and here I am closing, requires, I think here is the challenge, in really innovative policy approaches that should include, like, considering the co-benefits. Think about the circular economy, in which you can have some win-win between the economy, the environment, and the social aspects. Okay. Thank you. I stop here.
Thank you. No, that's fine. And I will come back to you, and I will come back to you. It's just to give everybody an opportunity to lay out their stall. Absolutely. I mean, and if one doesn't make opportunities out of challenges, kind of where does that leave us? I mean, not in a very good place. You talked about one of the challenges being prioritization, literally in only 2 words. What are another 2? Just 2 words. What are another 2 challenges? One, you said, prioritization, that's tough. What would be another 2 that you think are specific to small and mid-sized urban centers? Literally 2 words.
I will say the governance, so governance capacity. Mm-hmm. It's a big challenge. Okay.
Quality of life, this gentleman says. Providing a quality of life, a fair quality of life for all. Okay, we will come back to the governance issue because I think you've got some good examples, but thank you very much for that. Let me come to the lovely lady on your left. So we're coming to very different, sorry, you can tell I'm tired, can't you? We're going to look at some good examples on the ground, which bring to life what we've been talking about. I mean, we do have a very good example already here that we heard from Emil, but let me turn to you, Mercedes Hernandez Martinez. So you're Director of European Programs in the regional government. Murcia is exactly this, falls into this category of urban center, but you're also a leading member of the Spanish urban agenda, I believe, and in the urban agenda for the EU, and you've got some very specific actions there and are implementing some very specific strategies, the Integrated Sustainable Urban Development Strategy, Murcia 2020, which I think you're going to perhaps touch upon here, and the Murcia Smart City Project. So clearly, stuff is going on. Tell us a little bit about that.
Just a detailiste. Bueno, it's my pleasure to be here sharing this panel with my colleague.
Hold it there for them.
Okay, it's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So
hold it. Hang on. I've got to give you these instructions because I don't want to interrupt you. You need to just keep it there and don't speed. They need some breathing space to interpret.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's the municipality, it's a local government, not the regional government. So
what did I say?
You said that the regional government is the local government.
Sorry.
The municipality of Murcia is just
my apologies.
To take it into account. So Murcia is the seventh largest city in Spain, even if we are a mid-sized city with 500,000 inhabitants, but we are the seventh largest one. And we are located in the Mediterranean coast. Today I'm going to tell you about the city strategy or our urban strategy, Murcia 2020, understood as the city dashboard. It means the strategy is the dashboard of okay.
Because I can't catch what you're saying because the acoustics are so bad. You're going to have to, as though you've had a couple of glasses of nice white wine on a Friday evening and you're chilled. Forgive me. So you're talking about Murcia 2020.
See, the implementation of our strategy, but as the city dashboard, you know, it's like the main panel of the city. So first of all, just mention the main key factor that identify our strategy, and we really think that they are key factor that any strategy must take into account. The first one is the political support, the political leadership. The mayor is the leader who manages the city through the strategy. If you don't have this political support, you can implement a strategy. The second one is the multidisciplinary cross-cutting technical team composed of city planners, architects, engineers, financing experts, social cultural workers. The third one is you have the strategy must to be based on a multi-level governance. So taking into account and involving stakeholders and citizens from the beginning. One important thing is all the municipal policy and urban plans must be aligned with this general strategy. The strategy works as a container where all the different municipal policy and projects must be included. The search for financing to implement this strategy at the European, national or regional level, you have to look for funds to implement it. And this is very important because if you want to maintain the trust and credibility of a stakeholder, you have to implement the strategy in a short period of time. It's not only to plan the city, but also to implement the different action. And the last one, evaluation and monitoring result.
Yes.
This is one of the most important, just to carry on with the new period, on with the new strategy, you need to evaluate all the measures implemented. So after this introduction, I will start at the beginning. In the year 2015, when the new mayor, after winning the election, decided that the city needed a strategy like a roadmap for success. So therefore, we start working on this very process, and the goal was to turn Murcia into a modern, sustainable, intelligent, well-laid-out city. So in collaboration, this is very important too, in collaboration with the University of Murcia, we prepare a diagnosis of the territory, including everything, challenges, what to analyze, key performance indicators, mapping municipal services and resources, among other things. And we develop a participatory process involving all our stakeholders.
Just slow a little bit. Okay. So I know, and it's your own rhythm, and I'm so sorry to have to keep doing it, but I don't want anyone to miss anything. Okay. Yes, so you said you with the University of Murcia, identifying challenges, mapping assets and resources.
Mapping municipal services and resources, because you know, we are 3,000 civil servants. We are a medium city, but a big one with a big city council. Our city is divided into city center and 28 neighborhoods and 55 districts in the peri-urban area. So this is, for us, it was very important, and it's very important to have a real the real situation about the municipality services, all the services and resources. So, as I told, we prepared this document, this diagnosis, so, and we developed a participatory process. For us, it was important because we have the social council of the city. So we organized different working groups with the social council of the city. The social council is an advisory body in charge of reports, proposals, and studies related to the strategic planning and the city large-scale project. The main economic and social agents of the territory are part of this city council. This city council is chaired by the mayor, but is the only politician. No other council member take part in it. At the same time, we work directly with citizens through online and offline tools and citizen surveys. And the third one, we have interviews with other entities that are not part of the social council, but they are representative of the territory. So we did it. So with all the contribution we collected, we prepare a final list of contribution and conclusion that was incorporated in the city strategy.
Okay.
So our final document.
I'm going to ask you to round up soon, just because I think it's nice to deliver it in two parts, the sort of the front end, the strategy, and then maybe look at some of the results, just to give them a breather, because you're a fast talker, and just to hear. But maybe you can close at the front end of all of that incredible amount of work, the roadmaps, the strategies, the multi-governance, and then maybe look at some of the results after. So
the result, okay.
Does it sound like a reasonable place to just...
yes, it is.
To take a break momentarily?
Okay.
So you came to the point, and just to round off here, you said also, of course, civil society, we engage them offline and we engage them online as part of the participatory element. But I'm curious for the next part, if you can share with us some of the outcomes of this, some of the concrete outcomes, not least because what's interesting to me is you talk about, we've got the centre, and then we've got all sorts of other areas and all sorts of other districts. So for me, that must require a very customized approach. But if you can hold that thought momentarily,
the result.
Then I can let these two lovely people just lay out their stalls, and then we can come back. Ricardo, so you're going to come again with, I mean, I'm sure you will have heard there from Mercedes things that, so many words that resonate, not least monitoring evaluation, which hadn't come up today, but absolutely critical. This gentleman is actually a lawyer by training, are you not? I don't know whether you're... Look, you say that as though you're not very happy about that. Yeah, I'm a lawyer, sorry. But I like this very much in recent years, contributing to the future of your city. So you're really similar. You're working with multidisciplinary teams, and you are responsible for the implementation of Fundau's innovation strategy. You got a Regio Stars Award in 2018, did it not, that area? Okay, did you go to that?
Sorry?
Did you go to the Regio Stars? Did you go and pick up the award?
Yes, here in this room, 5 years ago.
Okay.
With the mayor, of course.
Ah, with the mayor, of course. So, of course the mayor. Listen, I've already had a former mayor on this panel today I said I love mayors. Mayors are great, we know this. Mayors should rule the world. Who wrote that book? Anyway, is it a good book? Okay, so I think you're going to share with us the strategy of a very small municipality. Is it to reverse the demographic trends and create something much more vibrant? Is it a very small municipality?
Yeah, it's quite small. We have around 15,000 people living in the city center, so it's a really small city, and we have 26,000 living in our municipality, spread through 700 square kilometers and 63 different villages around the city.
So tell us a little bit more. Tell us the nuts and bolts.
Maybe, I don't know if you are.
Do you have the clicker?
Yes, I do. Okay, I need to get back to the first one. Okay, so as I was, first of all, good afternoon, and it's a big honor to participate in this session, so I would like to start by thanking for this incredible opportunity to share our story. So Fundão is a small and rural city in the central region of Portugal. And like most of the countryside and rural areas, we face a set of challenges. And in my opinion, the out-migration is on the top of them. And looking at that socio-economic context and economic declining and depopulation, it was clear to us back in 2013 that we were called, we need to do something completely different, trying to revert this trend. That's why we decided to create a new strategy in our city to bring or to use innovation as a driver for innovation, for social and economic development. And we have done this strategy, this action plan in a very open way, open for new people, new culture, new ideas, but also in a very collaborative way. And on the top right of the screen, you can see the initial group of partners with whom we have founded our Living Lab for Innovation in Public Policies. And we also started to pay special attention for national and European programs to allow us to meet new people, new partners, and to get access, to have access to resources and funding that, of course, we need to support our strategy and initiatives. Fundão is all about people, all about culture, tradition, food, and of course experiences. And if we have all of this, why should we be smaller and smaller? So based on this, we have decided to use lifestyle and to define lifestyle as our main asset, as our biggest competitive advantage to attract people and companies to our territory, not only in traditional sectors, but also in innovative sectors, on IT, on digital industries. If we have created a living lab for innovation in public policies, we have to transform our city into a real test bed to try those policies.
Okay.
So in terms of urban planning, for example, we decided to build our ecosystem for innovation and investment by only rehabilitating old, empty or abandoned buildings in the city center. And we have been doing this for the last 10 years. And the two images that you see on the top right corner, they belong to the project that was awarded with the Regio Stars in 2018, the rehabilitation of an old pavilion into our first business center. So today, if you visit Fundão, you can find an integrated and friendly ecosystem for innovation and for investment. So we have an integrated set of infrastructure services, and currently we are the home of around 1,000 IT professionals. So in a city with around 15,000 people, it's a huge and daily challenge. And over the past years, it was possible also to host and to support more than 90 startups, and some of them are having good success, fortunately. So currently, our ambition is to make Fundão as a welcoming land for everybody that wants to invest, to study, or to live there. And we have created specific programs to attract and to retain people there, of course, but also to give them the skills that our market and the current market demands. So here in this slide, you can see three examples. One of them is about very intensive boot camps to retrain unemployed people into software developers. And it is really possible to do this, and we are doing it since 2016 with a success rate of almost 100%. On the top right, you can see an image of our program to bring technology and science to the traditional sectors, namely to the crafts. And on the bottom, just to share with you that we are the first and the only place in Portugal where all kids after 6 years old have coding classes in the public school.
Oh, wow.
And this year we are starting artificial intelligence from 12 years old.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, now I think I have a last slide with a video, 1 minute video.
Yeah.
I would love to share. It's a video about the recognition that we received last month of May from the European Commission.
Acolhe. Acolhe uma ideia. E a ideia é raiz. Acolhe um propósito e o propósito são asas. O fundão é raiz e asas. Uma terra para sonhar e fazer. Entre serras vemos mais longe. O que nos move é uma razão de fundo. Um fundão entre pessoas, unido na diversidade. Acolher culturas, acolher idades, ideologias, acolher personalidade. Acolher não é apenas um gesto da nossa terra. É aquilo em que acreditamos para o futuro. Até que o improvável se torne provável. E depois certo. E depois normal. Fundão, terra de acolhimento. Prémio Capitais Europeias da Inclusão e da Diversidade.
Nice, very nice. And I was going to say that one of the loveliest words, statements that came from your contribution there is, if we have all this, why should we be smaller and smaller? I love that. Look at our lovely assets, which plays into what we heard from Emile there at the start. You know, what your vision should be based upon your advantages, your competitive advantages, but what is special about where you are. But really impressive, and some really, really impressive results and compelling statistics in terms of coding and skilling. You know, really nice. Okay, more later. Let me please turn to Mia. Mia Pananen, who is Senior EU Policy Advisor, as I said, representing the city of Turku, but based in the European office in Brussels, correct? So you are based here. Sixth largest city in Finland still, as we go to press. You can talk more about that, because what you've come to talk about is really the ambition of the city, or to help us see what that is, to become one of the world's leading nature and climate cities. So you're going to talk about the Turku Urban Biodiversity Parks project, and give us a little bit of a feel for that, because it sounds absolutely splendid. Over to you.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here in the panel, sharing some insights of our very exciting project, which illustrates very well how medium-sized cities can drive growth and sustainability, while also answering local and global challenges. So a concrete example from Turku. Turku is situated in the southwestern coast of Finland. As said, it's a mid-sized city, 200,000 inhabitants at the moment, around 40,000 students, so it's old university city, in fact, oldest city in Finland. And as our mayor, Minna Arve, described the soul of the city with 3 words, the sea, the science, and culture. So science as a university city, culture, harnessing the cultural heritage and looking towards the future. And then, of course, the sea as a location. The city is growing, as even though it's a mid-sized city. And now we have to answer the challenge of strengthening the vitality of the city and the growth, and at the same time answer this global challenge of protecting biodiversity. As we know, it's a pressing global challenge, but at the same time, it's important to protect the local nature close to citizens and very much linked to the citizens' well-being, and also linked to the climate change and climate adaptation challenge. So how to grow and create attractive cities, and not as concrete jungles, but actually vibrant ecosystems. Turku actually won this summer this very great project, Urban Biodiversity Parks, from the European Urban Initiative Innovative Actions. So thank you, DG Regio, for this. The aim is to create one full-scale biodiversity park in one of the city's neighborhoods called Skanssi, and create 2 small-scale biodiversity pilots in 2 other neighborhoods. The objective is to, at the same time, really increase the biodiversity. So it's not only protecting the local nature, but really increasing the biodiversity, for example, by local seed accumulation, planting different type of forest or trees, and actively managing the park. And this is not only done by the city, but it's a wide stakeholder collaboration. So the planning and the implementation is done with stakeholders, so engaging the local community, the residents, the private sector, companies, NGOs, and the knowledge institutions and educational institutions. So the biodiversity park should function as this kind of participatory learning platform, as well as, of course, a recreational area for the residents. So, yeah, I'm thinking if I would say something now still about the project, or do I answer the more like questions? But I would still like to conclude maybe with the fact that this project is very instrumental because it really gives us new tools for city planning, urban planning, and as well as also showing us how we can combine these challenges of growth and sustainability and residents' well-being.
I mean, just delightful. I mean, I just such a lovely project. And just before I come back and perhaps ask you to reflect a little bit on some of the key things that you heard there for a couple of minutes. You said that it gives you these new tools. I mean, that must be, you've got something very central there to build stakeholder support around, right? You know, I mean, there's tremendous amount of actions that you've displayed, and absolutely incredible also to get the stakeholder support. There it's something very specific, very beautiful. How did that work? You talked about engaging, you know, the private sector, all sorts. Was everybody, or is it a myth that everybody was, oh, at the beginning? I mean, was there a nice ingredient to get everybody on board?
Yeah. Well, the project is only starting, of course, but the plans have been done already together with the wild stakeholder engagement. And I would say that this is one of the strengths in small and mid-sized cities that we can harness, that it's people-sized cities. There is normally close cooperation between different organizations within the city. So we are closely collaborating in the city with the universities, for instance, who are partnering in this project, some local NGOs, the schools, of course, and it's easy to approach private sector, I would say. So creating this local ecosystem, it's advantage for mid-sized cities, and that's how we can function as really demonstration platforms for very innovative projects. But of course, how then further in the implementation we maintain the interest of residents, and how we get the residents to work and manage the biodiversity park, for example, and the nature, that's of course then to be seen.
That's to be seen. Are you hopeful? Are you optimistic?
I'm very optimistic. I think people are excited about their local nature, and particularly these kind of innovative projects. So maybe Urban Biodiversity Park doesn't sound as very innovative. We do have parks, but this is actually first in Europe, which is actively enhancing biodiversity and having this wide stakeholder collaboration.
Thank you. I want to make sure that we just perhaps headline, and I haven't forgotten that I'm going to ask you about a couple of examples of outcomes, and I've got some other questions, but just a headline, because it's obviously so critical, and the one I've been scribbling a lot, the multi-governance aspect, you know, the participatory element. We heard about working groups, we heard about civil society, there's a roadmap. You know, you've got very good experience in this. How does that work best to bring all those people together and make them see that it is worth it for everybody, and maybe tackle where people are a little bit, no. You know, how do you get through that?
First of all, you have to set up your mindset in an ecosystem manner, not in an ego system manner. So that's the main difference first. If your approach is ecosystem, it might work. If it's ego, no, it doesn't work. So I just want to add some comments, because I found a lot of similarities between your cities and my cities. For example, talking about the Portugal and Turku, about the ecosystem of innovation, and you mentioned about quadruple helix. That's exactly the case in our city, and I strongly recommend at any level to play as a mediator, as a facilitator, as a local and regional authority to create the local ecosystem for innovation and collaboration. We have a duty to bring all the stakeholders together as a mediator in an ego-not-ego approach. And the power of ecosystem, you cannot imagine. The power of collaboration is fabulous. The added value you cannot get on the paper. But when you are putting together academia, industry, local and regional government, and civil society, there are fabulous advantages on the ground. So I strongly recommend what you have in Murcia, what you have in Turku, this knowledge square, research, development, innovation, and service to society provided by the university with quadruple helix, as I said, academia, industry, civil society, and local government. This is the key for a success. If they are working separately, they are staying in different towers, nothing is going to happen positive for the city. The second element is participation, you mentioned here. Of course, we have elections 1 in 4 years or 1 in 5 years in European level. But what is happening between the election, that is the most important thing. So we have to keep our citizens on board every day. I saw the examples from Murcia, and I strongly recommend it. We have in our city 2 examples to add. One is participatory budgeting process, where you as a citizen, you may decide voting how to spend some part of the budget on concrete projects in your city, in a very transparent and open way. You are keeping the contact to your citizens all over the time. And the second one, it's the Center for Civic Imagination. I have the pleasure here to have the director of the center, who is creating in Cluj-Napoca, a place where you have the people to come and dream about your future of the city, the future of your city, to design the plan, to discuss, to contradict, or to criticize, but to have a place, to have a vision and to imagine and to think about your city. It's a fabulous place, and it's a source of ideas. How can the things be that better in your city? I was inspired by what you from Turku said about 3 letters describing your city. I used to describe my city using 4 letters T: talents, technology, tolerance, and trust. And I think if you are keeping together, definitely you can manage. Last but not least, you mentioned from OECD about disparities. I would like to emphasize again, disparities are still high in Europe, in spite of the fact that we are doing extraordinary efforts, but still are high, and we have to work on every ground in order to diminish, because if we are going to diminish the disparities, you are going to increase democracy and prosperity all over Europe. And I will close with 2 statements. One about brain drain. The solution to brain drain is not to kill the freedom of movement. Freedom of movement is a religion in the European Union, let's be honest. What you can do is to turn brain drain to brain gain through brain circulation. How? Quality of life at local level. Invest in quality of life, invest in education, and people will be back or will stay in your place. Otherwise, you cannot solve it. And of course, last but not least, leadership. You need vision, plan, and leadership. Sometimes you need to assume strong and difficult decisions as a mayor or as a local council. Not all the time you can take positive or very popular decisions. Sometimes you need to have critical decisions, especially for congestion. We cannot allow to have all the cars in the city centers. Having all the cars in the city centers is like was in the past smoking in restaurants. Now we are thinking how was possible to smoke in the restaurant. In a few years you'll think how was possible to have all our cities crowded with cars in the city centers. So you need to take measures in favor of the quality of life of our citizens. At the beginning they will not be popular, but later they will tell you, yes, it's good, it's quality of life, more space for pedestrians, more space for kids, for parks, and so on. So I will make a comment with the mother-in-law. You know what is the difference or the similarities?
Is this a joke or a comment?
Yeah, you can defend. How do you want to take it?
I hope it's a joke. I love jokes.
I'm not joking about my mother-in-law. I have a wonderful mother-in-law.
No, never joke about a mother-in-law.
But
no.
The mother-in-law and the car. The mother-in-law, and I do have a wonderful mother-in-law, it's a part of the family, but should not control your life. It's exactly with the car. It's a part of the family, but should not control your life in the city. The car should stay as it is there and use the public transport and other means of transportation without pollution and so on. So you have to talk about that. You have to take measures and policies in order to increase the quality of life, even if it's not popular at the beginning.
I think, I mean, I liked, again, what you said about creating this space. It absolutely resonates with what we heard from the Deputy Mayor of Bologna on the previous session about creating this space for people to dream, for people to unpack, for people to sit, for people to have a bit of that and to see. Absolutely critical. And in the fast-moving societies we live in, it's so critical, I personally think, to go, ooh, where's the space? Absolutely. You talked about the brain drain. You've got to get the infrastructure attractive. That's critical. One comment I would just say, and I will come again to our other panelists. You said absolutely strong leadership means also, you know, taking difficult decisions and delivering them. My feeling is that these days, where there is a breakdown of trust, is that sometimes the reasons behind the decisions are not effectively transmitted to those who are impacted, and it's such a shame because then you get this backlash and you don't get this buy-in.
And here is the difference between communication to the people, which means public release or conferences, and communication with the people, going with them and discussing on the ground, even arguing, debating, as you organize at 7 o'clock, a debate. That's the most important way to have the communication with the people, not just to the people. And last but not least, it's important to communicate the results of Europe on the ground. Unfortunately, we as a politician, sometimes we say everything which is bad comes from Brussels, because they are imposing us all the bad things in Europe, which is not fair. And not mentioning good things, what is happening in our communities with European money, saying the mayor did it, the president of the county did it. No, we did it with European money. It's fair with Europe, and we need to emphasize, especially next year, to show the results of Europe in every corner of the European Union, because otherwise you can see that the populists and the extremists are taking the advantage, because we are not defending our Europe enough and our values as much as needed.
Mm-hmm. I think, and also, and then I will come, I'm going to finish off your story in a minute. I'm going to come and ask you to just finish a little bit that story when I'd stopped you there. Talking mayors, I had Bart Somers, who was the mayor of Mechelen, on a panel of mine once, many years back, and he won World Mayor Prize. I didn't even know such a thing existed. Did you? Your eyes are lighting up. World Mayor Prize in 2016. So he's done a lot in Mechelen, a lot in terms of integration. And I asked him exactly that question that I just raised with you about how on earth, when you've got to deliver or have tricky conversations with diverse stakeholders, do you do it? And he said to me, you know what, Kat? About a year ago, I made a decision that every time I would go into such a meeting, I would give myself permission to come out with two kind of presumptions, or two of my opinions slightly changed. He gave himself the, and it's very interesting psychologically what that did to allow him to sort of not think I'm giving away ground here, but I really liked that. I remember saying, talking.
That's echo, not ego.
That's absolutely, that is echo and not ego. Before I come to you, David, and come back here, let me just ask you, was there a couple of, you talked about all the incredible things you put in place, from your roadmaps to your monitoring to your participatory process and your working groups. Is there anything, just to add a bit of colour, a couple of concrete stories of what all of this work has brought about in Murcia?
Okay, we use this method with participatory process not only for the strategy, but also for different projects that I'm going to speak later with the sample. I mean, this is very important. Okay, the city council works, but the most important thing is, for example, for us is the collaboration with the University of Murcia.
With the municipality?
The municipality with the University of Murcia.
With the university.
This is very important for us because all this, the strategy, the key performance indicator, or the participatory process, the organization of the different working groups, the mapping the municipal services and resources is something that we as a civil servant, we don't know how to do it. So it's the university, we have an agreement, and the university, they prepare it, they are a department, the economic department, development department we have the agreement with this department, so they prepare all the documentation. For example, all the SWOT analysis, or as I told, the monitoring or the indicators, everything is prepared with them. So for us, it's easy. And we use this method not only for a strategy, before with the city, Murcia 2020, city strategy, but also now with the urban agenda. We are pilot experience at the national level for the implementation of the urban agenda at the local level, the Spanish one. So it is because of this collaboration with the university, it's very easy. So was this the question?
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I mean, maybe just to have again, just what's coming next? I mean, that was 2020. We're now 2023. Just very briefly, where's this going? What's the next step? What's coming next?
the next step. So after the Murcia 2020, it's Murcia 2030.
Okay,
So we're preparing this period. Before it was urban strategy, the name now is municipal urban agenda. So.
Okay.
And we are, as I told before, a pilot experience at the national level, but we are. But because of our participatory process, because of the engagement of the City Council, this is very important. But also because of the good result of the city strategy Murcia 2020. So, and as I told before, this success is the result of the implementation in a short period of time. I mean,
okay.
You can have a strategy. Where all participated with the social council and citizen and everything, but if you don't implement it, your credibility, you are dead. But you are dead forever. You can call for another. You can call for another participatory process if you miss this credibility. This is the most important.
Okay.
This is why. This cross-cutting thing is the European Project Department in my city. Okay. And my department is with the mayor, you know? I'm with the mayor. So this is the most important because we are the city dashboard. So the mayor dashboard, the panel, the control panel is like, so the mayor has this department and he has the map of everything. Like a private company.
Okay.
So this is our, and now we are working on this, on the urban agenda 2030. So we are implementing it.
Okay. I love that. I love that you're dead and there ain't no coming back. That's what you said. Your credibility is
much important.
Shot to pieces and hard to get it back.
In fact, we implement only in 5 years, we have implemented the whole strategy. Funded by or European, national or regional fund, but EURDF, mostly EURDF, Next Generation Fund at the moment, but also in the model in 2020 now, Horizon Europe, Life.
Okay, so you've really...
You know, because once you have a strategy, it's very easy to apply for funds. The most difficult is to have a clear idea about what you want. Yeah. Because when you apply for fund, you have to have, you know, your framework very clear, and I need this.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking, that did come up on the last panel about the funding, and also the Commission saying, yes, I think we probably, drilling down to the very, very local level, we can be clearer about what funds are particularly helpful for which particular uses. Let me come to you and just see, you know, I mean, I can just leave it to you what resonated, if there was any point or two that you wanted to build upon. And maybe one thing, I mean, keep that nutshell-like. Just one point on perhaps digitalization and how it can unlock the potential of these particular size cities. Maybe just if there's one point you want to pick up on or two, but then perhaps we could focus on this digitalization issue as an enabler.
Yes, thank you. This is a very relevant point. I think before, maybe I was the bad guy giving just the challenges for small and medium-sized cities, but actually there are a lot of potential, incredibly huge potential, as those cases show. And don't forget the evolving geography of jobs, the rise of remote and hybrid work that is giving a lot of opportunities for places outside the large metropolitan areas to raise their attractiveness. Small and medium-sized cities can leverage on this. Again, the risk is that this yields to even more increasing disparities, because the worst things the small and medium-sized cities can do is just to copy-paste strategy from the large cities, just to play on the playground of innovation, productivity. Of course, so you like innovation, you like productivity, but this, I like to link with what Fundao shows, that you adapt some concept of innovation within a wider strategy centered on people. I like people-centered, people sides that Turco say. I really like this term. So first, you think about the lifestyle as an asset and the quality of life, and then you act on this. And we see, what we see from the city, there is an incredibly huge amount of local resources, of creativity in designing from the bottom up. What just is needed is local leadership, the mayors, and also maybe the last point is what I heard in a previous session in this room was the session of regional and post-industrial transition, and was this concept of empathetic listening.
Empathic listening, yes.
Empathic listening. And that, an active leadership is a leadership that has a listening from the bottom up, mobilize the incredible capacity of the local assets, and listen not just formally, but really put into practice what he really. And I also would like to pick from Murcia, that for me, a key concept is the evaluation monitoring. Might sound like a technical, boring. Actually, no, local policy, it's a learning process. And pointing on this, it is really the key to increase the accountability, the trust, and the credibility. Is empathetic listening.
I was about to say exactly that, and you said accountability. I think there is a moral and what else would you call it, social, and in anything else, obligation to monitor and evaluate, particularly with public money, particularly when you are, creating and improving ecosystems for the very people who live in them. You've got to give that feedback. I don't know if there's any questions. I haven't seen anything pop up on Slido. Just momentarily, does anybody in this room want to ask anything in one sentence with a question mark at the end, or are you being sufficiently entertained and stimulated to not do that? I'm just checking with my fantastic courtesy. No. And I don't think we have anything on Slido, but that's okay. Oh, wait, we do. Okay, we might not come to this straight away, because I'm just going to come to Fundao and back to Turku. But yeah, we're all leaning forward and squinting, aren't we? Because it's very small font. What is a concept for growth for Murcia? As we heard, Cluj-Napoca evolved, oh, thank you, look, they've just made it huge, evolved into an academic city. Fundao has this idea for being open and innovative. Where is that growth? What is that point to which you're moving? What is that? But can I hold that thought for a moment? But I will come back. You've been listening, and I'm sure there are a few points that you didn't get to say. Can I ask you something, or do you want to, was there something on your mind to jump in with? Which would you prefer? I am looking at you. I love the way don't look at me, looking at her. Was there something specific you wanted to bring to the table? Otherwise, I have a question. But first of all, the priority is if you wanted to say something particular.
No, just to say that the formula for the strategies that we should develop in our cities, in our local authorities, has already been shared by my colleagues. But I think that the current situation that we are living, this digital transition that is becoming faster and faster, it's, in my opinion, a unique opportunity for places like Fundão. Because talking again about lifestyle and quality of life, I think this is the first time since 10 years ago, something like that, that people can start to choose the place where they want to live because of the lifestyle they want to have, and not only because they need to move to a big city to find a job. So I think this is an unique advantage that we should use in our strategies. And of course, for a strategy to be successful, you need to have stakeholders engagement, you need to listen to the community, you need to have a long-term vision, and was already said, but I want to reinforce, you need to have a strong political commitment and leadership, because during this journey we do our mistakes, we have our failures in Fundão. Of course, we are not doing everything right, and when we started this journey, it was clear to us that were involved in the process that eventually we could have failed, and if we have failed, probably the mayor, when he was running again for the role, probably he would have paid the consequences. So you need to have a very focused and resilient political leadership in your city.
Yeah. But is there a space for, I don't like the word failure, unless it, I mean, is there a space though for it? We talked again in previous sessions for, I'm putting it in inverted commas, failure, because there's got to be a space for experimentation, and there's got to be an allowance for mistakes, right? And
sure, and
yeah.
There should be space for sharing our mistakes, our failures, because it's important for us to learn not only from good practice, but also from failures.
Yeah. So, sorry, did you want to?
I'm sorry.
Yes, I strongly agree with you. We used to have in Europe just a manual of good practices. Let's have the manual of best mistakes. Right. Because we learn from mistakes sometimes more than from our successes. And in my mayor office, I gave the instruction to my employees, you have the right to be wrong. Test it. Otherwise, you cannot know how to do better. Of course, after you test it, you see the results, you improve your work. Otherwise, the innovation cannot take place. Failure, or as you call it, it's a part of innovation. It's a must to be part of our mindset. Yeah. So failure is not a problem, it's a part of our next success. So from that perspective, I think in every ecosystem of innovation, testing or failure should be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Absolutely, and also, I mean, perhaps you are a tremendously enlightened mayor, also kind of having, you know, I don't know what to say, having the balls, but that's the best word to say that's okay, we can allow for that.
Because not taking the decision sometimes is worse than take a wrong decision.
Absolutely.
Because if you take a wrong decision, okay, you know how to do in the future to improve it. If you do not take a decision, stay just with your papers and do not assume anything, you'll stop the progress.
Absolutely. Well, I'm coming in a minute to Marcia, but I would like to come to you, to Turku, particularly on, I mean, I don't know whether it's something that is sort of in the area of, that you would want to comment upon, but I am just curious about this, the small and medium-sized cities. We heard that don't cut and paste from them, but don't try and do what the big guys do. That's not the point. There are really unique specificities. But is it sometimes feel a bit, we're not getting a seat at a table of a conversation within a broader regional and national framework that can feel like you're being a little bit overlooked? I mean, I know you've come with a specific, beautiful project, but is there that experience?
Well, when I have listened to you as well, and many things have resonated very strongly, the leadership, the vision, the strategy. I think as small and medium-sized cities, we have to be bold, like really bold in our strategies and bold in our vision. The slogan of the city of Turku is the boldest city, so oldest city, boldest city.
Oh, you've got lots of good ones, haven't you?
Yeah. But I think this is one of the key things, that even though you're mid-sized, you have some strengths, what Funda also mentioned, and Lusnapoka and Musia, so you harness from those strengths that you have, and then you also have the capacity to show that you can answer some global challenges, European challenges, local challenges. We have our innovation ecosystems which produce solutions. The cities produce solutions. So I think this is really the key, that you need strong leadership for this. That's the baseline in order to be bold. And then you are invited to tables, I guess, in national, regional level as well, when you show that you have something to give.
In fact, I should have framed it the other way. I should have thought, hey, why should you want to go to those tables? It's a little bit also that, isn't it? I mean, you know, because all of these really impressive bottom-up approaches, there shouldn't have to be a fight to actually get there sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's important also to come bottom-up and tell what we do, because otherwise people will not know. And I feel like the European cooperation, it's really important and really a key also to share the mistakes and worst practices, but best practices as well. Now the city of Turku is, for example, working with Fundao in this climate neutral cities mission pilot project, twinning program, and EURegionsWeek is a place where we get to hear about these like different examples in cities. So I think that's also one important aspect and strength that we have to harness, that we work together with other cities and medium-sized.
So that would be a quick yes or no. So there is the knowledge of the added value of the EU dimension on the ground. Would that be also the case for Fundao? Is there that sense of what Europe, from a policy perspective and from a funding and other support perspective, adds? I mean, if you have these kinds of transformations, does the EU element come into it? Do people have an understanding of that?
Yeah, sure. For us, participating in European programs and European projects is critical for us to have new ideas, to meet new people and new partners, and to of course, projects are not all about funding. It's probably the best way for us to meet the best practices and to see things that were already tested and that are demonstrated that they really work on the ground. And getting a little bit back to what we were saying previously, if we agree that there should be space for innovation and for learning and for sharing of good practices, but also of failures, I think that should be also in Europe a good space for replication. Because if we have good practices that have already been tested in Europe, and most of them supported by European money, we should create programs to replicate those success stories to other places. And I think that could be a good way to prevent that small cities could fall behind larger cities that, of course, have other resources to accelerate their transition.
So real dedicated funding towards that replication, which is also part of the value of the... What I meant actually for yes or no was not just, I mean, absolutely it's important to be part of those programs and learn not just from a funding perspective, but I just wondered if average citizen on the ground in Fundao knows that part of this transformation comes from the EU dimension or not. Is that a sort of a yes or a no? I'm curious.
Yes, I think the citizens know that lots of things that are happening currently in Fundao were supported from European money, European projects, that they are somehow part of all the networks and partnerships that we are having within European projects. I think that there is a conscience about that.
Okay, because you don't always get, I'm very curious, because it's the huge challenge to get the EU out of this bubble and onto the ground, past, according to the stories you say, you know, in member states, when it's all going badly, let's point the finger, and when it's not. So it's always curious to me. You seem to say otherwise, or?
Well, I wouldn't say that the citizens, I would say that the citizens do not always or many times know that it comes from the EU or it's a EU project. I feel like many times we're in Turku and show like, hey, do you actually know that this is a EU project? There are stickers in some places, visual signs or something, but you always have to tell again and again and bring this out.
So, Marcia, I must respect that question, which was, you know, where were you going to? What was that kind of vision towards which you were going? Very briefly, because we have maximum 10 minutes, and I need to get some last words from all of you and release these good people on time. So where were you going to? What was that place? You know, we heard that was, you know, the particular assets there. Was there something that was... How would you articulate, what were you transforming to? What were you improving to, if that makes sense?
The project.
Yeah, just overall, all of this fantastic.
Okay, all these things.
Yeah.
Okay, the real implementation of the strategy, not only on the paper. Okay, yes, I can. It's all about some
and not too fast.
No, not too fast.
Just
But I
brief
will
and...
see the presentation because after, okay.
Ah.
It's just the green one.
Ah, I don't know if, the lovely technical crew, I don't know if they have the Murcia, if we have, do we need to see a slide for that?
No, it's because to show you some picture about the project.
Okay, I'm not sure. We'll give them a moment, but if you had to, was it to create greener, more livable spaces? Was it to increase what was driving all of that roadmap, the participation, this fantastic integrated sustainable urban development strategy? It was to deliver better quality of life on all fronts?
The strategy, eventually, it's a document with different models, city models that you have to implement. And in this model, the social model or economic productive model or territorial cohesion model, for us, the most important, because in this territorial cohesion, we include urban regeneration and revitalization, sustainable mobility, green areas and everything.
So I love the way you scoot through them, but they're all very impressive and important.
See, because it's like to put things in order, you know, this is our challenge. We have to in fact, this project, you have your challenges, you have your strategy, you have your model, your different models, and inside you have the project. It's like different boxes. So for us, the territorial cohesion model is the most important because of our territorial reality too, with all the neighborhoods and history. It's a complex situation, so this is very important. Speaking about sustainable mobility or urban regeneration.
Okay.
So, different projects, for example, one project, maybe one of the most important projects we have implemented, it was an urban DNA project. The name is Urban DNA.
Urban DNA project. Okay.
So, to revitalize a neighborhood. It was a URBAC good practice label in 2017, as well as in CTO Services, Bloomberg Philanthropies in New York. We, in 2 different editions, finalists. No winner, but there.
Okay.
So this project, we wanted to revitalize Santa Eulalia neighborhoods. It's a neighborhood in the old center next to the city council where the university is located. It's a neighborhood traditionally for artists. But the neighborhood needed, as we have called, a shake-up.
Yeah, a shake-up.
A shake-up. Yeah. So we are speaking about revitalization, not regeneration. I mean, the social aspect is not included in this project. This is just a shake-up. So we prepare, like in the strategy, a participatory process with all the stakeholders. And we divided the project in 3 phases. The first one is as we call, the identification phase.
You have to keep it super short because of time. You have to literally just
include the participatory process.
Don't speed up. Just keep it short.
6 months. And in this participatory process, we realized that citizens were not asking for big projects because when we started there, it was with EURDF funds, so we had a lot of fun, but no, they were not asking for big projects. They were asking for a small urban intervention that didn't require extra funding for the municipality. And we realized that there were a small urban intervention that it was enough with the connection and collaboration between the different municipal services, acting at the same time.
Okay.
And this is the most important part of this project, because if you want to regenerate a neighborhood, with the coordination of all your departments is enough. You don't need extra money for Europe or the national level. So, and in this phase, we identified 1,000 small urban interventions related to burning containers, cleaning graffitis, you know.
So real revitalization. Okay.
We are speaking about revitalization. So what we did, You know, it was a side-up. You know this American TV program that reformed the house in only 10 days?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, it's the same thing.
Like a house makeover, but you
Yes.
did a neighborhood makeover.
We did the same thing.
Okay.
1,000 civil servants and public companies working during 10 days at the same time. In 10 days, the neighborhood was completely transformed. It was another different neighborhood, full of life. You know, and now, after 7 years later, it's a neighborhood full of life and businesses. Another important thing is that the city council is not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
So we try to boost citizen association in order that they would able to continue with the project once the city council is not there.
So it has its own legacy.
See,
I've got to stop you there because I can't go over time.
Okay.
And already you described it fantastically with a lot of passion, but also I can just see it, that home makeover program. It's gone from to something completely different. And I love what you said there, just by, and you must know about this, just by aligning all sorts of different departments, we actually managed to do it without extra funding coming in from the outside, just getting everybody outside their silos, having a conversation, and we're able to brought that about. In the last, and I literally, you can see the time, and we can't go over 6 o'clock. Anything we didn't say, if there was one particular policy direction that you would want to wave a magic wand to say that's the policy direction to unlock the potential of these size of cities, I'm happy to hear about that. If there's anything that you didn't get to say, literally, and I mean it, ladies and gentlemen, 30 seconds, last word. So I will start with you, if I may. Mia, what would you like these lovely people to take away that perhaps you didn't get a chance to say?
I don't know if I can highlight one policy, because that's...
Could be something else. I don't mind what your last word is. You could be, Katrina, don't ask me anything, I just want to go and have a drink.
Yeah, go have a drink. No, I think really the bold strategies, for instance, the implement the Green Deal, like in our case, setting a bold city strategy, like Turku has climate neutrality by 2029. Okay. That's a bold city strategy when the city turns 800 years. It's also a good gift for the citizens. So this is a good example. The project is a good example of bold strategies and leadership. And EU support for this and cooperation is very important.
I like that. That's nice words. A gift for a gift for people. A gift for people. And that's I like that. That's delightful. What about you?
Okay, just two final messages.
Yeah.
Personally, I would love that Fundão could keep an open mindset and being a smart city, smart in the sense of delivering a good quality of life for people and using technology and innovation not as an objective as itself, but as a way to achieve quality of life. And I would love to watch and to see European and national institutions discussing the challenges of the cities, not only based on the paradigm of big cities. Because, for example, if we think about mobility, we only discuss the issue of mobility focused on big cities. And mobility is critical for rural areas, and we are not discussing the challenge as we should be.
So please, can we have more nuanced policy, can we really think about what's behind all of the big cities and the specificities and the needs that are sitting there? Can we be included more, please?
And please, give more space for replication.
Okay, I like that. I love the idea of a replication fund. That could be the next. We've had lots of R's. We've had the recover and the this and the that and the reinvest and the invest. So we could have a replication fund.
Yeah, because for most of the challenges that we face, probably there is a solution anywhere.
Absolutely. I don't think you are wrong. Beautifully short, what would be your outro to these good people?
So every city needs a strategy, but you have to pay attention to the process to elaborate it, because it's a strategy that you have to implement in some years. So if you are wrong or you don't prepare it well, you will have problem with implementation.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, you're kind of dead in the water, as you said before. Very, very hard to win back that trust and credibility. For you, David?
Maybe my direction would be more for a national level. And I will say that to unlock the potential of small, mid-sized cities, we need strong national urban policy frameworks And in my opinion, to get a quality and polycentric urbanization in countries, what countries should do is really to couple the concept of small and medium-sized cities as cities of intermediate size, and to use the term of intermediary cities, really intermediary, meaning that cities should be the anchor between state, regional, local government and citizen. And national urban policy should also foster intermunicipal cooperation, should allow a mayor to talk with her neighbors and really to facilitate joint strategy making and really to foster a territorial approach, including co-production of services. These two really to increase, to let small and mid-sized urban center driving growth, I would say, of opportunities and of quality of life.
Yeah, thank you. And last word to you, Emile, before I close.
It's already 6 o'clock, so everything what was important was already said. I will conclude with my conclusion with two very short jokes.
They are jokes.
Sorry.
Fabulous. So, we're happy about
first
jokes.
is connected with digitalization, innovation, and technology. So the factory of the future will have two employees, a man and a dog. The man will be there to feed the dog, and the dog will be there to stop the man to touch the computer. So think about the power of upskilling, skilling, and reskilling, having in mind the evolution of technology. And the second one, it's a very short one. It's about a fox and a rabbit. Okay. The rabbit is meeting the fox in the forest, and the rabbit is saying, I cannot survive anymore. Everyone wants to eat me. In the day, the hunters, in the evening, the wolves, so I'm going to suicide myself. The fox said, no, stop it. I have a solution. Next morning at 9 o'clock, please go deep in the forest to meet the owl, you know? The owl.
Oh, the owl.
The owl, yes, the big birds of the forest, and he's the boss of the forest. Next morning at 9 o'clock, the rabbit was there, met the owl, and the owl asked the rabbit, what are you doing here? I have a problem, so on. Okay, look, we have a solution. From now on, you, rabbit, you are a lion. You know what is a lion? The attitude everyone in the forest is paying attention to, you know, from this very moment, you are a lion, you understand? And for 2 hours, they have been discussing everything. At the end, the rabbit was moving out, but before he left the door, he turned to the owl and asked again, but exactly, how should I become a lion? How should I become a lion? How exactly should I become? How do I? And the owl said, you know, I am with the strategy, you are with the practice. You have to put in practice the strategy. So it's exactly the Mary said, I'm with the strategy, and the others are with putting in practice.
I love the way the rabbit comes out of the owl's house. I love the fact that the owl has a house in the forest as well. And dogs, yeah, of course, dogs. I've got a border collie. Of course, the border collie is going to know coding before I do and, you know, I don't know, write a thesis in 1 hour. I mean, that's what the dog is going to be skilled at. Thank you. Always good to end on jokes. You've all been fabulous, so spirited. And that's what we need as we come to the end, almost the end of the day, because there's another session. So can I please ask you to give the warmest of rounds of applause to these delightful speakers. Thank you. Stay in your seats. Thank you. Of course, I feel I ought to get up because I've been such a look, I'm doing that. I've been so lazy, and I feel I ought to at least come to my little spot here because I only get to come to it twice. So very, very warm thanks to you. Huge thanks. Can we give applause? Blimey, they listen to a lot, these interpreters. There they are in there. Thank you so much. Really fantastic. You can't see them, but it really is quite a huge effort to put things like this on, and for an online audience with such a beautiful set. And they've been cutting a live program for those joining us online, and they are squeezed behind the technical people, I swear to God, in a space of about -1 millimeter. So how they're still alive is incredible. So could you give them a round of applause, even though you can't see them? to our lovely camera people as well who've been in here, and of course, huge thanks to you. Just really huge thanks that you're still here at the end. If you've got something fabulous to say, don't forget, there are 4 unique hashtags. Here's one for this session, and then there's, of course, the overall hashtag. You can't miss it. You've got a break now, as I said. There is coffee, but there's not alcohol until 8 o'clock. So if you are staying for that citizens' dialogue, it's kicking off here at 9 o'clock. It is picking up on the 3rd session of the day, and we've got this fantastic conversation between Commissioner Ferreira and a bunch of very spirited and clever young people. So I kind of think it's a moral obligation to listen to young people when they're on a stage, because God damn it, they don't get enough opportunity to be there. So please do stay. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. I thought before today, oh my God, that's a lot of work for a moderator, 4 heavy 90-minute sessions. But do you know what? The speakers have been so brilliant, really so fabulous, that really rocks you along. So I'm very, very grateful to all of them, and have a very safe trip home whenever that may be. Thank you very, very much. Thank you to you online. Thank you.